As a member of the Brazilian generation that grew up idolising Ronaldo, Rivaldo and Ronaldinho, any trickster from the game's great breeding ground has big boots to fill, and competing for a position with Neymar won't make it easy to forge an identity of his own. These are the qualms that Douglas Costa had across his footballing journey, and it could explain why the name only rings a bell when, given his talent and the moments he created, it should be held in high esteem. Said journey began in 1990 towards the south of the country, namely in Rio Grande do Sul, the home place of Gremio, and from the age of 18 the local boy treated the Estadio Monumental to his elite gifts. At 5'8", his low centre of gravity enabled him to manoeuvre the ball as he wanted while at full sprint, and Costa caused endless headaches for fullbacks throughout his 2-year stay. His finished product needed a lot of work, as did his temperament, yet the inhuman top speed of the left footer was enough of a selling point on its own, and Shakhtar Donetsk spent €6 million to fly him to Ukraine. Though not a heavyweight of the continent, the miners were no joke. With the UEFA Cup in hand, Mircea Lucescu had put together a seriously talented squad of names that are well known now, but in 2010 didn't hold the same weight. It was the perfect place for Costa to adjust to Europe, welcomed into a dressing room full of compatriots, also at the start of their careers. And in no time, he started to suit the black and orange. Making the most of every minute, the 19-year-old's impact off the bench was incredible, injecting some energy into the midfield to catch out the weary markers, adding a handful of goals over just 3 months in his debut campaign, which ended in them reclaiming the league title. The success had only just begun. It afforded them a new state-of-the-art stadium, where for the next 5 years the speedster's rough edges were smoothed out, refining his game and becoming more than just a road-running trickster. Only seeming to score screamers, Costa's left had some serious power, getting his head over it and thrashing the ball, way out of the reach of fingertips. Versatile and flexible as well, his playmaking qualities shone through, linking up the attack from the middle of the park and whipping in pinpoint deliveries from either flank. Engineered to entertain, the number 20 had every trick in the book up his sleeve, but wasn't a pointless showboater, and if he lost possession, gave fierce chase to get it back. Lucescu's balanced group had a tough spine of Eastern Europeans, around whom floated these lively South Americans, and not only were they a great watch, but the formula consistently delivered, making them a dominant force in the UPL. Costa was right at the heart of it, amassing 80 goal contributions and stockpiling 11 trophies inside a glorious 5-year stay. With regular standout showings in the Champions League to boot, he couldn't stay hidden for long. And having built up his stock by €30 million, the Ukrainians let him go. Having witnessed him at first hand that March, Pep Guardiola splashed the second biggest fee of Bayern's 2015 summer window to bring him to Munich. This was the turning point in the 24-year-old's career, propelling him from a cult hero of the 18th team on the UEFA rankings to a marquee signing for the number 3 club, cementing his rise to the top tier of European football. Quoted many times as saying he wants to be the world's best, this was the needed next step, achieved so early because of his exceptional work rate, having extra sessions with a strength trainer during the cold nights in Donetsk. Seen as an eventual replacement of the ageing Ribery duo, his opening 2 months exceeded expectations, able to thrive under a coach who wants to attack. Driving the lines with his electrifying pace, Costa, nicknamed the Flash, could completely take out members of the opposition, as once he beats them, there's no catching him, creating a numerical superiority for Guardiola's side. What really stood out in this initial period was how far his passing had come, setting up his teammates regularly for simple finishes, having done 90% of the job himself. 7 games in, after a debut goal, he'd hit double digits for assists already, as the Bavarians continued to terrorise, with Robert Lewandowski more bloodthirsty than ever. Resembling the younger version of another of Bayern's wide men by cutting into open space for a thunderous long shot off his left, it was like watching a carbon copy of Robben, and it appeared the club's transition from one generation to the next would be smooth. However, some muscular trouble in the winter slowed his momentum that upon returning the Brazilian struggled to regain. But the champions had enough depth to make it 4 in a row, and Costa's decisive penalty against Dortmund sealed the DFB Pokal.
Douglas Costa could settle this for Bayern, and he has!
Collecting a domestic double in a strong first year. Off the back of international duty in the yellow strip of Seleção, the injury curse returned. The excessive running and those bursting sprints from 0 to 20 took a toll on the hamstring, and he had to wait until Halloween for his first start under Carlo Ancelotti, brought in as Pep got underway in Manchester. While in the stands, Franck Ribery was back on the team sheet, and the Italian took a liking to him, so despite scoring in his returning game, Costa was demoted to second fiddle behind the 33-year-old. In the 11 only 19 times in total, his minutes in the red were halved, playing 1,500 minutes fewer, and he publicised his frustration with the board. Yet, another Meisterschale weakened his argument, and a loan to Juventus in July 2017 was arranged so he could recapture top form and secure his seat to Russia for next year's World Cup. Joining the forces of another elite club with long-term rule over their national division, the 11 was the missing X-factor for Allegri's old lady, who had both quality and experience all over, but lacked the energy up top. So again, with something to prove, Costa made a difference. In the defensive, slower Serie A, his influence was unmissable, gliding with intent directly into one-on-ones that would, more often than not, leave defenders embarrassed. At times, it looked as if you'd paused everyone but him, and the Juventini fell in love as their new man started adding substance to that style in the season's latter half. Re-establishing himself as one of the world's finest wingers, the Brazilian led the top flight in dribbles, and his vision was trumped only by the execution of these lofted deliveries into the forwards, with the newcomer's assist tally second only to Lazio's Luis Alberto. Further silverware was added to his haul that May, Juve's number 6 in a row, as well as thanks to his thumper against Milan, the Coppa Italia.
Douglas Costa! Douglas Costa!
Another double that earned a permanent contract to stay in Turin. Clocking in just over 70 minutes altogether for Brazil, a promising tournament ended at the hands of Belgium's golden generation. However, there was plenty of reason for the 27-year-old to be excited ahead of the new campaign. Serie A's record signing Cristiano Ronaldo was a weighty declaration that the Bianconeri wanted to end their 20-year European drought. Arguably the greatest ever header of a football was to be Costa's new target man, and the ultras were raving with anticipation, but soon things took an ugly turn. 4 games in, a home win over Sassuolo was all but confirmed when the Brazilian locked horns with Federico Di Francesco. A yellow for the elbow and headbutt became a red when Costa spat at the Italian following an exchange that many suspected involved racism, though nothing was confirmed. Nevertheless, he'd risen to provocation and faced a 4-match ban for the incident, after serving which the winger's contributions massively fell off, bagging only 1 goal and a lone assist in a 4-month span before his hamstring flared up in February to rule him out of the rest of the campaign, including the Copa America. Just as he should have been hitting his apex, Costa found himself looking up from the deepest ditch of his career. Flashes of the man we wanted to see came by now and then across what was his final year in the north, bringing the crowd to their feet with either his signature street baller technique or bangers from range.
Pallone buono per Douglas Costa!
Gathering a 3rd league medal, he then put everything in rewind, going back to Bavaria for another injury-plagued 9 months, resulting from a hairline fracture of his right metatarsal. It was clear the approaching 30-year-old wasn't fit for the big leagues anymore. Continuing his throwback trip, he circled back to where it all kicked off, making a romantic return to Gremio, where he added 3 more goals and ticked off a bucket list dream of captaining his local side. Next came a 2-year stay in California with LA Galaxy, where he partnered Chicharito and enjoyed the twilight of his career in the City of Angels. It wasn't his final stop though, as Costa came back to his motherland repping the famous stripes of Fluminense, where inside 6 months he lifted his last silverware. Not ready to say goodbye just yet, this August he set about a new challenge in the Australian A-League, welcomed by Sydney FC, where the 33-year-old may just have his last dance. With 24 trophies, 200 goal contributions and over 500 appearances for some juggernaut clubs, Douglas Costa's time on the pitch, however you spin it, can only be described as triumphant. Hailed during his prime as one of Europe's best in his position, the Brazilian is remembered for how he entertained the world of football with his quick-stepping skills and outrageous efforts on goal.
Douglas Costa, how about that for a goal?
Possessing like no other, one of the most invaluable attributes a player can have, pace always comes with an age cap. For only so many years can someone accelerate from standstill to gone, leaving dust in his wake before the hamstring tightens and eventually pops. This is exactly what happened to the kid from Sapucaia do Sul. After that first pull, completing a full campaign became a pipe dream. We're lucky to have seen as much of Costa as we did when he was the Flash, dropping defenders, hitting 21 miles per hour and rippling the net from 30 yards, moments we fans can revisit on a rainy day.